All right, welcome to the show, everyone. Today we have Michael Weber here with us, the CEO of Seedstars. And without me giving too much of an introduction about you, let's dive right into it. Michael, first of all, thank you so much for making the time for being with us here on the show. And give us a little bit about an introduction about your personal background.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you very much for having me, Daniel. It's a pleasure. Hi to everyone as well. So I'm Michael, Swiss entrepreneur and founder. I have a background in merger and acquisition in a boutique firm here in Switzerland, working on cross-border transaction all around Europe, and then decided to try the entrepreneur's life. Built my first tech company called SoSport. I sold it to the management team. The reason I decided to sell the company was because I was working on something that I didn't like, which was soccer. Funnily enough, the whole process of building the product and building the company was what I really like to do. So I decided with two friends and entrepreneurs to build Seedstars, which is the actual project we're going to dive into a bit later on.
Yeah, good. So tell me a little bit about Seedstars. What is Seedstars?
So the initial idea was we started as a kind of an accelerator, so investing a bit of money and then helping entrepreneurs grow, but quickly realized that the real value was building those companies from scratch. So that's really what we like to do as entrepreneurs. So starting identifying a problem and then building the solution around it. So Seedstars is a company builder. We started building the first companies in Europe, and then quickly wanted to expand them in all around the world, especially in emerging markets, from Africa to Southeast Asia, Latin America. Unfortunately, at that time, we didn't have the network to do so, so we decided to build a platform or a network to scale those companies. So we came up with what we call Seedstars World. That's what we are known about. So it's a global network and startup competition in 50 plus countries this year. So we travel in all of those locations, organize pitching events for startups, select the best companies, then invite them in Switzerland, invest in the best company, of course. But it's for the company builder, it's really the way to identify the best entrepreneurs to work with, but also connect with local investors, potential co-investors, but also get to know the local ecosystem, find new problems, build new solutions in those markets, and then, hopefully scale our companies all around the network. So today on one side, we build what we call the platform, from, web development team, online marketing, the network with Seedstars World, things that we leverage every day. And then on the other side, we have our portfolio. So we focus mainly on fintech companies in Africa, Southeast Asia, Latin America, and now try to scale down a bit what is happening in Europe.
Okay. So just curious, why did you start Seedstars World and why emerging economies?
I mean, first, the idea was really to be as global as possible. But I mean, in the end, what we really like to do is we are entrepreneurs. So what we love to do is build something, from scratch. And then we saw so many opportunities in the emerging market while traveling for the first competition. So for the first Seedstars World competition in 20 countries the first year, that we said, okay, why not, giving up what we have in Europe? There are already, too many competitors, a lot is going on. And I think there are still a lot of opportunities in Europe. But if you compare to what is happening in emerging markets in terms of growth, potential, and so on, we said, okay, why not focus? You have to focus at the end, so why not focus on those markets instead of keeping building those companies in Europe?
Okay. So tell me a little bit about more about the first 1 or 2 years. Like how did you get Seedstars off the ground?
So it was just doing it, you know. We said, okay, let's pick a project, let's pick something that we like and launch it. We came up with Wine.me, which is a wine subscription company. So basically, you know, we were getting, you know, laid out of the office and, you know, going to friends for dinner, whatever. You don't have wine, or you go back home, you wanna, you know, just drink a bottle of wine. Instead, why there's no service that, you know, just ship wine at home every month? We know it's good wine because it's been selected and so on. We search online, didn't find one. So we just, you know, build it in a week or two with the MVP, super simple, and then start buying wine and sell it to the, you know, our friends first, and then it grew up to something pretty cool. And we said, okay, why not invest a bit more and, you know, bring entrepreneurs to run the venture. And today it's a successful venture, delivering all around Europe with around 1,000 boxes every month. So, you know, at the end, it's just about doing it. So that's really our mantra is, you know, stop doing PowerPoint and just build and try it. Even if it's, I mean, if it's not the best idea at the end, it's just you can try and something will happen around it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, execution always beats just having a raw idea. Absolutely agree with that. So, you know, just a bit more details about, you know, the wine business. Like, how did you get started? I mean, how did you get, you know, the first, I don't know, 100 or 1,000 users on board? Did you go through partnerships? Did you do advertising? Did you walk around with flyers on the street? Like, how did you
Yeah, we hacked it. You know, we tried everything. You know, Facebook ads, Google ads. You know, trying to spread flyers. You know, with the hostess and so on. And I think what really kicked off was we managed to build a partnership with. More a deal than a partnership with one of the biggest gift company in Europe, probably, or in Switzerland as least, that I cannot name because it's on white label. But basically, it was a way for us to distribute our product and see that without, you know, just with a white label, the product was working. So imagine if we add all the offer of Winery, which is basically today the sommeliers that we have on board, you know, the service and so on. It's just going to be a much better service. So people were buying on the platform, so on the third-party platform, just, you know, because they had the distribution. So basically, they were, you know, doing the same job. So advertising for us, we were redistributing a part of our, you know, giving them a commission. But basically, it was a way for us to test that people were ready to buy that product. So then we decided to launch and spend more efforts on building the company and finding hacks or way to distribute our products.
Okay. Tell me a bit more about Seedstars World. I mean, how did you go from the initial idea to being in 50 countries around the world? I mean, it's
same. You know, it was just, we said, okay, let's, you know, we need to build this network. Let's take a map. Where do we want to go? I was the first saying, yeah, let's, you know, visit like 5 or 6 countries. It's going to be enough, you know, 2 countries per region. But my partner Pierre-Alain is really a crazy entrepreneur. He said, okay, 6 is fine, but let's shoot for 20 this year, you know. So, you know, he was the one traveling, so I said, okay, why not? And so we started to kick off the project in September. October, we had a rough idea of what we wanted to do, and then in March, Pierre-Alain and Alizé, who's now managing the venture, was traveling for 10 months nonstop. So, you know, at the end, it's just about, you know, doing it and making it happen, and you'll figure out along the way, you know, you'll solve the issues, you solve the problem along the way.
Okay. Like, I got another question about that. Who did you talk to in the countries? Who did you call? Who did you email? How did you get started there?
You know, friends. You start with your network. I think it's just the way that you started your project. You know, it's about reaching out to people and finding the local guys. we leverage a lot our networks, friends I mentioned, also Sandbox. Pierre Alain is Sandboxer now. It has a different name, I imagine, but the principle is the same: is reaching out to people that that can connect you to other people that might help you at local level and so on. So it was a lot of for the first 6 months from the idea until we decided to travel in March. 6 months, it was a lot of Skypes and emailing nonstop. And then it happened.
So, what were some of the biggest challenges that you were facing in the beginning with the growth?
Challenges, I'd say for Seedstars as a group is finding the right people. Our biggest challenge today is to have the right MDs or entrepreneurs running the ventures. Then the first employees. It's at the end, for every startup, it's going to be about the people that you can bring on board that are motivated and that can take the company to the next level. So that's why most of us within the company builder, we try to spend as much time as possible on hiring the right people, or at least talking to a lot of interesting entrepreneurs. Maybe today is not the right time, because they're building their own company or whatsoever. So we try to help them, and one day they'll think about us, or we'll try to do something together.
Okay.
So I'd say about the people. It's pretty a standard reply, I'd say, but definitely the biggest challenge for every company.
So how do you deal with that challenge? How do you deal with the challenge, like finding the right kinds of people as the entrepreneurs, but also as the employees later?
Yeah. So the process that we have is pretty steep today. We start with what we call the Seedstars Academy. It's a way for us to bring people on board, train them with the tools that we use, the way that we work. Maybe test a few ideas, build MVPs, and so on, so that they get a sense of how it works within the whole group. Then our ventures can tap into that, the batches, so the entrepreneurs that get out of the academy. If it works, or if they have a nice MVP or a nice product after the 3 months, they can get into what we call the Seedstars accelerators or incubators, so they get a bit funding. And after that phase, we decide to put more money into the venture and then take it to the next level. So it's kind of if you want to get into the group, it's like a 6-month test phase. First 3 months with the academy, and then another 3 months within the accelerators to take your company or your MVP at least to the next level. And it's the way for us to get to know those guys. And see if they're fit for the whole group, or where we can put them. But I try to take as much time as possible working with every, even interns that starts working within the group at every level, from venture level to more managing role level. And the first question that I always ask is, what do you really want to do? If you have a passion, we'll try, if it fits our, the Seedstars group vision or strategy, we'll try to achieve that together. And I know that if I'm able to place those young entrepreneurs into something that they really love, they will deliver, they will work, and so on. So that's my job, to try to achieve with them their goal in life. That's very difficult, because most of the time, even young graduates, they don't know where to look at, what to do, and so on. But we try to achieve that step by step. So we have a lot of quarterly reviews with everyone. We try to spend as much time as possible to really understand their needs, what they want to do, where they want to be in a few years, and then build it around the way to achieve it.
Okay. I love that. I love that you're focusing, so much on the individuals, because it just creates a great company culture as well. If everybody feels like at home in the company, it's not just an alien environment. Then it's just a place where people actually enjoy going to, which is not the usual norm today. With 70 or 80% of the employees completely disengaged. So that's a great strategy there. When it comes to the wine business, just quickly go into that one. What were some of the biggest challenges you were facing, with that one in the beginning?
I think the same as every startups, it's about distribution. So finding a way to distribute your product cheaply, at least that your acquisition cost is lower than your lifetime value. That's the biggest challenge we have for all our ventures, is really finding a way to scale and distribute the products.
How do you deal with that challenge?
Today we try to focus, so we try the other approach, meaning working with either corporates or people that already have the distribution channel, understand their needs, and then come up with the products, so that we know that when we build an MVP or when we build a new company, the distribution part is already hacked or already in place. So thanks to Seedstars World, we can connect with a lot of those big companies. We can access to really high level, from the innovation department to the board for a listed company, for example. And it's a big challenge for them as well. Especially emerging market is a hot topic. Tech startup in general is a hot topic as well. So we're right into that. With Seedstars World. So it's a way to approach them, get the first contact, understand their needs, and at the end, when they understand that the core business of Seedstars is not the competition, is not only the competition, but is about building innovation, building products, then they figure out that they can do something with us. And we try to get those deals on the table before launching the MVP. So it's really about making sure that we have the distribution channels figured out before launching a new product.
Okay, so it's basically Seedstars now is sort of a big enabler and multiplier as well for every new company that comes in, every new company that you start building, because of the existing relationships already. So it's like it acts like a multiplier, right?
Exactly. Okay. So that's the way that we leverage what we have today, which is basically this network and those relationships with corporates or big banks. Let's say we're a lot into fintech now, so we have a lot of relationship with big banks all around the world. They look at different issues or solutions, and we can come up with those with the right, because at the end for them it's the same challenge. They need to find the right talents to build those new products. They tried internally, didn't work, so now they try to find another solution, and I think the company built the right mix between taking a risk of investing in a company or building it from scratch. And that's where we come in. We build the specific product that has already the distribution channel secured with the corporates or a bank, for example.
Okay, good. So there's lots of challenges always when you build a new business, when you start something new. How do you stay motivated in the tough times?
I'd say mainly with, thanks to the people that you have around you. Again, if you have the right people, maybe you're in a tough day, but they're not, because they had the good news. We're lucky enough because we have a few companies. So there's always at least a good news somewhere, so we can jump and celebrate with them. So that's. But I mean, I'd say it's more, about the people. If you have friends or co-workers or team members that are there for the good time, others for the bad times, you just need to call them and try to either solve your issue or solve the problem to just make your day. And then tomorrow is another day, and it's always as an entrepreneur, you just live day by day and you try to make the next day better than the last.
I love that one. That's a great one. Good. I'd love to talk about the topic of raising money now. Like,
Sure.
you've been involved in a couple of ventures now with, with the topic of raising capital. So what do you see, or what, looking back, what do you see were some of the biggest challenges you were facing, or you were faced there?
So for us as a company builder, I'd say that, and I think that's the main issue also for funds, for VC funds. It's about the black box. Most of the investors today, they don't like to invest in a fund, a closed fund or whatever that they're stuck for 10 years, and they don't know what they're going to invest in. So I think for us at the company builder level, that was the main issue. Now for the venture, it's always the same. I mean, in Europe, because that's where we started, you have less risk takers. So they'll negotiate everything. They want to be sure that they don't understand that it's a startup, that you have to invest, that you lose money, and so on. They want to get into the next Facebook without taking the risk. So I mean, that's, I think, the biggest challenge for every, at least European startup today.
How do you deal with challenges like that?
You look for money anywhere else. I mean, at the end, it's you just have to find one investor, or one investor that trusts in your story. You can contact 1,000, even if the other 909 they don't work. Then at least you have one investor that trusts about your vision, your story, and it's enough to make it happen and take your company to the next level.
So how do you find that one?
You have to spend a lot of time researching. One of my trick is when I find a good fit, and I have a chance to spend some time with the investor and so on, I always ask for another introduction, to someone who he knows that could potentially be interested by the venture or what we do. And it's a good way to, without doing the whole research, getting access to someone else. But you have to spend a lot of time, digging into angel lists, LinkedIn, and so on, to find the right fit in order to make sure that the investor that you contact is a good match with what you're doing.
How do you know if somebody's a good match or a good fit?
You can look at their portfolio. You can, just ask their portfolio companies. It's sometimes also easier to touch base with the portfolio companies, which are entrepreneurs, and they're happy to, exchange about their story with their investors, how they are. It's also a good way to do, both way. We heard a lot about this today, both way due diligence. So the investors is doing the due diligence of the startup, but you should, as an entrepreneur, also spend time, knowing the investors and the way that he invests, what he does with his startups, and so on. So yeah, I think that's the main thing.
Okay. It sounds to me you put a lot of value in relationships. What you just said, there's a lot of value in that introduction. You get to know the people, and then you actively ask for the introduction to somebody else, so you expand the network of investors that way. And also, mentioned in the beginning, with Seedstars World, it was basically, talking to friends and to friends of friends and friends of friends of friends of friends. And networking a lot and getting to know people, and Skype calls and meetings and everything. So just like a question about that. How important was building relationships in the whole growth of Seedstars World for you?
Pretty important. I mean, it's a lux to be able to spend as much time as possible, meeting new people and making those connections, because at the end you have to run a business and you have to make money. So it's definitely something that's not anyone can do. We bet on this at the beginning. We decided that it would be an asset for the future. So that was the bet for us. But I think if you're into something that you like, can be anything, sports, whatever it is, and you try to build your startup or your company around it, then you'll have the contact, you'll know a lot of people, and that's just your way in. If you have to start from scratch from really nothing, then it's much more difficult. But usually, if you do really something that you love, you have those first connections. So it's just about engaging them and taking them to the next level, and making sure that every people that you meet introduce you to someone new.
That's a good point. I love that. Every person you meet, make sure that they introduce you to somebody new. That's kind of like a recipe for success, it feels like, because you're constantly, just with that one thing, you're constantly growing your network, and if you know where you want to go, then you can ask for introductions in the right way instead of just randomly doing it.
Exactly.
That's a really good point there. Excellent.
And for us also, the big, especially at the beginning, cold emailing or introducing yourself was also a good way to get in. Luckily enough, we had a big enough project that was global from day one. As I mentioned before, emerging market and tech, so it was sexy enough to at least get the attention with the cold email or cold intro. But that's also still a good way in to get this. If you've done research right and you contact someone for a reason, then why not? What would be the reason of not spending time? Because you know exactly what you want to talk about, what they can bring to the table. So if it makes sense, there's no reason the other person on the line would be able to reply or get back to you.
Well, just on that topic of emailing people, what do you feel when you email somebody like this who doesn't know you? What do you feel is most important about that email?
For us, is make it as short as possible and right to the point. It should be no more than 2 lines. Who you are, where you're contacting, and what you want from them. And don't hesitate to do rebump or that's a tool I use. But just forward the email or reply 3 times over a month, 4 times over a month if it doesn't answer. At the end, people just apologize because they haven't answered your email, even if it was a cold email. But it's kind of now polite to answer to email.
So you're saying you didn't always get an answer in
No,
the
no, of
meeting
course
by the
not. You're
first
not.
email.
You just have, because it's not a priority for them. You're not. Maybe they're on vacation. Maybe they're working on an important project or doing something, more urgent. And the timing is not right. So maybe the timing is not right today. But if you try in a week or so, they'll maybe have their coffee and it's going to be a break, and your email pop-ups at that time, and they're going to read it and reply. So don't be pushy and really get back to people as many times as possible until you get at least a no.
I love that. Yeah, until you get at least a no. That's a good one. Yeah, absolutely. Good. Like, just one of the last questions that I have, knowing what you know now after building it, Seedstars, especially now to being in 50 countries and also, different startups within Seedstars that you built. Like, knowing what you know now with this, if you could go back to the start of when you founded Seedstars, and you could talk to yourself back then, and you could give yourself 3 nuggets of wisdom, what would you say to yourself?
I think the first one would be about focus. We tried a lot of things, different sectors, different countries, and I think we should have focused a bit more at the beginning. So focus is really important. The thing is, it's part of also of our global strategy, to diversify the risk and being in different companies or building different companies. But diversification is the thing. You still have to focus somehow. So I think that would be the first advice. And I think it's the same for every new company that you launch or new product that you try to build. It's really about you maybe have 1,000 features in your head, but just try or start with the one thing that is really a killer, and then things will come into place. So I'd say focus to answer your question, and then choosing the right team. I think we've done that right with my two partners. But it's really important to find the people that you want to work with and spend time. If they're not your friend, they'll become your friend because you're gonna spend a lot of time with them. But it's I think the two most important things. One, we've done right the team, so we know that something's gonna happen out of that. On the other, I think we lose a bit of scale with the focus part, where we've done a lot of things instead of really focusing on a few key products or key ventures that we had at the beginning, which could be much bigger at that time today.
Okay. Is there a third nugget of wisdom that you would give yourself?
None that I can think of now, but I'll probably come back to it later if I have any idea.
Okay, good. So just a last question, really. Where can people connect with you, with Seedstars, with Seedstars World? Where can people do that?
It's super easy. They can just go on any website. We have email addresses. They're all tracked. They all get to our inboxes somehow. So if they really want to connect, they'll find a solution. We are connected. We read everything, so it's not going to be a big issue for someone touching base with us.
Okay, so I'm going to link to the websites below this video so everybody can find the websites and connect with you and Seedstars. And thank you so much for making the time. I know you have a busy schedule. We had to reschedule this a couple of times, but I'm very happy we finally were able to do this. So thank you so much for putting in the time for doing this. It was a huge pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your lessons and your wisdom with us.
Thank you very much for having me, and always happy to help. And don't hesitate if you want to get more insights or whatever about what we do.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Michael. Take care.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Cheers,
Bye-bye.
Daniel.